Hey everybody, it's good to be with you today. It's a cold day in Abilene still, and so I'm sitting in my den in front of my fire wishing that you were all in here with me. We could all crowd in together and that would be a great thing. But even though we can't be together in the same room, I am thankful that we can be together in this way. We have learned that God's Spirit is greater than the distance between us. And this week we've learned that God's people can do hard things. It has been a very crazy, challenging, hard, sometimes even frightening week. Some of us have lived without power for most of the week. Some of us have not had heat in our homes on and off. Our city was without water for several days. And even though we have water now, we have to boil it before we drink it. It's been a hard week. Some of us have had to sit in the dark a lot, wrapped in blankets and in lots of layers. And so we didn't go to school this week, and many of us didn't go to work this week because there wasn't power or water where we worked. And so it has been a different week, but God has been with us even during the hardest of times. And times like these remind us that God's people can do hard things. We've seen neighbors come together. We've seen people in our city serving each other and helping strangers and helping friends, maybe acquaintances that they didn't know very well, by sharing their food and their water and their homes. And so God's people have worked to take care of each other and have worked to take care of the people in our city, and that I think has been pleasing to God. And so today, as we're together, we're going to hear a story about unlikely friends. One of the things that I got to do this week while I was at home was I got to explore and remember some books that I hadn't looked at for a very long time, and I want to share one of them with you today. So as we get ready to hear our story, let's begin as we always do by singing our Bible words from Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Let's hear our story today. Listen for things in this book that capture your imagination about friendship, about unlikely friends, and about how we can help each other. So the title of this book is Wilfred Gordon MacDonald Partridge. That's a funny title, isn't it? And look at the illustrations. They make me smile and sometimes even laugh. I hope you enjoy them. Let's hear the story together. There once was a small boy called Wilfred Gordon MacDonald Partridge. And what's more, he wasn't very old either. So how old do you think Wilfred Gordon MacDonald Partridge is? Maybe 5? Maybe about 5? His house was next door to an old people's home, like a retirement center, and he knew all the people who lived there. So even though Wilfred was very different than the people who lived in the old people's home, they were friends. So think about unlikely friendships. Let's learn about his friends. He liked Mrs. Jordan, who played the organ. He listened to Mr. Husking, who told him scary stories. He played with Mr. Tippett, who liked to play cricket. He ran errands for Miss Mitchell, who walked with a wooden stick. And he admired Mr. Drysdale, who had a voice like a giant. So here are his friends, where the old people live. But his favorite person of all was Miss Nancy Allison Delacourt Cooper, because she had 4 names, just like he did. He called her Miss Nancy, and he told her all of his stories and all of his secrets. One day, Wilfred Gordon heard his mother and his father talking about Miss Nancy. Listen to what he heard. "Poor old thing," said his mother. "Why is she a poor old thing?" asked Wilfred Gordon. "Because she's lost her memory," said his father. "Well, that's not surprising, because she is 96 after all." "What's a memory?" asked Wilfred Gordon. He was always asking questions. I think that's why I like him. It's something you remember, said his father. But Wilfred Gordon wanted to know more, so he called on Mrs. Jordan, who played the organ. What's a memory, he asked. Something warm, my child, something warm. See, her hands are wrapped around something warm. He called on Mr. Hosking, who told him scary stories. What's a memory, he asked. Something from long ago, me lad, something from long ago. Let's see what everybody else said. He called on Mr. Tippet, who was crazy about cricket, and said, what's a memory? Something that makes you cry, my boy, something that makes you cry. He asked Miss Mitchell, who walked with a wooden walking stick, what's a memory? He asked. Something that makes you laugh, my darling, something that makes you laugh. He called on Mr. Drysdale, who had a voice like a giant. What's a memory? He asked. Something as precious as gold, young man, something as precious as gold. So Wilfred Gordon went home again to look for memories for Miss Nancy because she had lost her own. Look, I think it's funny that he's looking at the chicken. I wonder what he's going to do there. He looked for the box of shells that he had found long ago last summer at the beach and gently placed them in a basket. He found the puppet on a string that always made everyone laugh, and he put that in the basket too. He remembered with sadness the gold medal which his grandfather had given him, and he placed it gently next to the shells. So it's right over here. That was a treasure. Let's see what happens. Next, he found his football, which was as precious as gold. And last of all, on his way to Miss Nancy's, he stopped by the hen house and took a fresh, warm egg right out from under the hen. Have you ever done that before? I know some of you have because you have chickens. Then Wilfred Gordon called on Miss Nancy, and he showed her his treasures one by one. What a dear, strange child to bring me all these wonderful things, thought Miss Nancy. Then she started to remember. Look at that picture. They're looking at things. They're looking at the things together. Let's see what she remembers. She held the warm egg and told Wilfred Gordon about the tiny blue speckled eggs she had once found in a bird's nest in her aunt's garden. She put a shell to her ear and remembered going to the beach by tram long ago and how hot she had felt in her button-up boots. So she must have lived in a city because she went to the beach by tram, which is like a train, and she had to take off her hot boots to wiggle her toes in the sand and feel the waves. She touched the medal and talked sadly of the big brother she had loved, who had gone off to war and had never returned. See, she's waving goodbye with her family to her big brother. She smiled at the puppet on the string and remembered long ago the one she had shown to her sister and how she had laughed with a mouthful of porridge. How her sister had laughed. Look, she's laughing up at the puppet with a mouthful of porridge. She bounced the football to Wilfred Gordon and remembered the very first day that they had met and started sharing their stories. And the two of them smiled and smiled because Miss Nancy's memory had been found again by a small boy who wasn't very old. See these two unlikely friends? I wonder, do you have an unlikely friend? I wonder what you heard that captured your imagination today. I wonder what it means to seek a friend who's different than you are. Sometimes we choose our friends to be just like us. But Wilfred Gordon, MacDonald Partridge, and Miss Nancy Allison Delacourt Cooper were very different, but yet they were friends. They learned things from each other. They helped each other. So this week, as you go back to school and as we go back to work, let's look for ways that we can help other people. Let's look for ways we can serve God by serving others. Do you remember our Bible verse that we spent a lot of time on this summer? Let's see if we can remember it together. Sometimes friends need to speak up for other people. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Ensure justice for those being crushed. Yes, speak up for the poor and helpless and see that they get justice. Proverbs 31, 8 through 9. People all over our city have been doing that this week, speaking up for people who needed help. It's been good to be with you today. I miss you, and I look forward to next week. We're going to continue our journey toward Easter in the stories of Jesus from the book of Mark, and so we'll be back in God's Word together next week. Stay warm. Enjoy your week. I hope you have a great week at school. Love God with your whole heart this week. Bye.